Hey, what's up, everybody? JP here with the Leprechaun Fantasy Workshop. About to do a painting on a piece from Printable scenery from their Feywild, or Shadow Fey, I should say. Sorry, their Shadow Fey collection. Pretty cool, detailed sculpture. It's got water running down into a pool around with the rock features, plant vegetation, and vines, so kind of something you would find in a Lost Forest or the Feywild, as it were. So pretty cool. This thing does print with, I snipped them off already. You might be able to see they're on the back side, so I didn't really care, but there is actually built-in support for the water running down. And then after we finish painting this, I think we're going to do a resin pour. So we are going to, I did a couple river tiles from Shadow Fey Printable scenery as well. And I painted all those up, and I wanted to add a couple more effects to it in that pouring resin, which gives the water a real watery look, which is just out flipping standing. So we're going to get into that. I've got everything laid out, and sorry if I look all sweaty. I just literally ran outside, and for the resin pour, you need a heat gun, and I have a heat gun, but forgot to grab an extension cord. So, and it's also about 100 degrees in my studio. I need to get an air conditioner in here. So, we're going to do that today. We're going to get this rolling. After that, what I plan on doing is when we get the resin poured and all that stuff, I'm actually probably going to do a little bit of maybe a live stream of some Call of Duty. Who knows? It'll be a separate part of the stream. And I wanted to also, for a note for those who've been following, I know I normally do a Monday with the stream. Next Monday is Memorial Day, and I, being a veteran, made some cool plans. I will be going to the Cleveland Indians game. I've got tickets for front row, so it should be pretty awesome. So I will try and stream. I'll probably be doing a stream on Sunday with almost certainty. Also, I wanted to add to the stream for you guys who have been following. I'm also going to be doing live gaming every Saturday at 10 o'clock. That's also been added to the stream. And we're working on some other things as well as we go on. Currently, I'm playing some Call of Duty, but we might get into some ESO, some fantasy gaming, since that's kind of the genre I play in. But we'll see how that goes. So before we even start painting something, though, I do have a little surprise that came in the mail today. I know last stream we had a surprise in the mail. And again, it's a Kickstarter that I bought into to add to my tabletop gaming, so I wanted to share. I only have opened the box, like as in I've only cut the tape. So there you go. That's all I've done. Well, that, and I removed the thing that said my legal address on it. So this box, I'm gonna cover up my address, is from Real Game FX Fulfillment Store. FX is a special effects gaming thing for tabletop gaming. And they make something really cool for tabletop gaming, and we're going to get into it right now. So I've got a plastic tube. And I'm going to hide the instructions for now. Just boom. And we're going to crack this open. It's a lot bigger than I actually thought it would be. But I plan on integrating this system into a table that I plan on building in the very near future. And you'll see what I mean by integrating very soon. Alright, so there's some wires. I'm going to have to read the instructions. This is a key fob remote. Let's get the X-Acto knife out here. Again, didn't open any of this stuff or pre-cut it. All right, so we've got a key fob remote. Standard, looks like it goes to my car. We've got a power pack. And I know you guys are seeing parts here in the instructions. This is the coup de grace of the whole project. And I'm thinking about actually getting another one. I haven't, when I test this, we'll see the performance of it. So what this big box of plastic is, so this is a fog machine that sits on my table. What I plan on doing it is actually hiding it in my table, building the table around and having an interior running through, and I want to do piping on the sides of the table, running on the sides. And then I don't have one of those tiles with me, but if you've ever played, if you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan, you'll know the Screaming Demon skull, or the Screaming Demon from, or the open mouth demon from Tomb of Horrors. Printable Scenery, not Printable Scenery, sorry, Fat Dragon Games came out with a tile that is it is just absolutely perfect and phenomenal. And I do have the files for it, so I plan on 3D printing those at a really high level of detail. And I think I want to make either a silicone mold of them and cast them in resin, or maybe doing it in aluminum. And then drilling out the mouth so the mouth's open. So the side of my table will be recessed. When the players, like I have all my terrain in there, and so when I flip on the fog machine, the mouth starts spitting out fog onto the table. I thought that would be a really cool effect. Very custom, obviously. And so how this thing works, from what I understand, you run this tube, and it pumps. So what I would do is probably, I can't buy anything without playing with it, so I would probably find a way to separate this. This would be in the DM side. Integrated in. I want to have, I already bought lighting and stuff like that for the table that will be in there. And so I just turn it on and the fog will pump through and then come out. So we'll have blowers that blow it in. So that is something that's in the near future. I do plan on building this table, maybe not this year, but definitely next. I still have to work out plans, but this was one of the last big parts that I've been waiting for. So, I will reveal, so the Fog Monster 2, sorry, there you go. Fog Monster 2, very cool. It's remote controlled, it's got different fan speeds. I'm really excited. So what I thought about doing is getting 2 of these and having them in each corner. And then, so they run separate. But I bought one just to test it out. I mean, they are, I believe it's $125 for the Kickstarter that it was. And then they are developing right now terrain that you can, it'll actually have pipes that go in under the terrain and it will come out like a volcano effect or a geyser, that kind of thing, which is really cool. You got to check them out. I'll try to remember to put a link because I wasn't planning on talking. I didn't know this was going to come in on time. So if you just check out FX Games, I believe it is. Let me see if they have it on here. I will edit link in the description after all the stream's done. That's their email, so that won't help. But Real Game FX or FX Games, you put Fog Monster 2 FX Games, I guarantee it'll probably come up if you do a Google search. So cool. That's 2 Kickstarters that have come in for me in the last 2 weeks on live stream on Monday. So I mean, I hope it keeps on going. I've got a number of Kickstarters that I bought into a long time ago. Reaper Bones is one of the ones I'm really excited about. Bones 5. And yeah, I mean that would be a whole video on it. Probably a couple videos. There's a lot of stuff I've got planned for that. So let's get into this. Sorry, I'm parched. All right. So looking at this, as I always say, when I start out with my, sorry if that's too loud, let me know in the comments. When I start out, I take a look at the entire, miniature, or the terrain, whatever I'm about to paint, and I figure out what my layers are going to be. Now, I've kind of already done this. You look over to my side. I've got my grays. I have my browns. I have my watercolors that I use, and by watercolors, I don't mean like watercolors like the type of paint. I use all acrylic, but I use between 4 to 5 to 6 colors to do a water effect. To give you an example for what we're about to do a resin pour on, other than just this, here is one of the rivers. Sorry. And I try to, with the paint, make it look like there's a running water to it. And so when I pour my resin in, even though I'm going to try and tint the resin, which I've never done before, so we're going to try a lot of new stuff today, it will give the effect. You'll be able to see that below. And then and then on top of that, when the resin's done drying, there's an effect that you can do with Mod Podge to give it a ripple effect. So a moving water current. So pretty cool. Anyways, so we won't be able to get to the Mod Podge thing because obviously the resin has to dry, and my resin's I think 24 hours. But we'll get into the resin stuff in a little bit. So for this first, as I said, I always paint level up. So kind of like getting dressed in the morning, you're not going to put on your pants before you put on your underwear. You're going to paint, do your levels up. So the water is probably one of the biggest features, so I think I'm going to pick water first. And then I'm going to do the dirt. There's not a whole lot of dirt to do because there's a lot of stone features. And then we'll do the statue. The statue, I think for this, we're going to do, if you can look at it, this tree is growing out of the statue. So normally I would do the statue as like a stone, but it's a tree. It's like if I were to tell a story about this, maybe it was like a great druid who sacrificed himself, yada, 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 and became a tree that, cleansed the water or something like that. Make up whatever story you want. I'm going to do the tree. Normally I do always like the wood colors. I'm going to go for a change of pace because this is like the Feywild. I want this to be ancient. So I've got a really cool color here that I picked up. It's from Folk Art. Barn wood is what it's called. So the old gray effect of wood. So pretty excited about that to try it out. It's still got the seal on it, so I don't even know what it's going to look like. But with anything, when you're painting stuff, I wing it. I'm not some skilled, I know what I'm doing. I am winging this the whole time. So, all right, let's just get into painting. There's no point in talking about it anymore. So, got my paint tray. And we're going to load up for our watercolors first. So, what I always do is I do level. Like I said, bottom on top, and then just keep on adding. So when you're shading stuff, you want to go darker and then lighter, and keep on going lighter. So starting out with a deep navy. And when I do my paints, I don't fill up my whole paint tray at once. That's how stuff dries out, and you start wasting paint. Although these things are like maybe two. If you get some of them, the crafts paint, Craftsmart. I believe it's Michael's that carries it. It's like 99 cents a bottle. Folk Art's a little bit more pricey. I don't really care what the price is for paint that I'm going for the color. You could mix colors, and we're going to do a little bit of mixing into the paint, in the work. But what I've always said about mixing colors, if you mix colors in your tray and then try and replicate it, for instance, if I'm doing dungeon tiles and I mix a particular gray for my dungeon tiles, well, you have the problem of what happens when you try and make those tiles again, and you're going to try and replicate that color. What happens if it dries out and you run out? So we're going, again, I am of the speed painting variety. And I'm actually having a hard time seeing some of this. So let's see if we can get a little more light in here. One of the greatest things I have for my shop, or my printing studio, is I have a very large magnification light above my desk that's on a gimbal. So here's the method to my madness here for this dark blue. I'm just doing the whole thing first. It's like singing a song. You know, you add layers and layers. Right now, this is just everybody singing. This is the harmony. I'm not getting into the first tenors or, you know, the harmony or anything like that. This is the melody. I'm sorry, did I say harmony? The melody. This is just the melody of the song. This is everybody singing at what the song sounds like. When the audience sings in, this is the people who don't know the parts. So the next part, though, is going to be water has depth to it. The deeper it goes, the darker it gets. You know, if you've ever watched a movie and they're like the dark abyss, the darker it goes, or I'm sorry, the deeper it goes, the darker it gets. So I'm going to try and give an effect of that it's curved. So by doing that, now I'm going to go along the edge and hit it with a lighter color. I've got a royal blue here. This is Craft Smart Paint. I'm not a stingy, like, oh, well, I only buy. I don't give a rat's behind who makes what paint. It's as long as it works well. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some paints from the same line that I have that completely dry out, crack. Then there's some paints that don't. It's honestly color. I find yellows crack and dry, and they're not easily peelable and that kind of stuff. So now I'm adding a little bit more detail. This is a lighter blue, and I'm trying to go along the edge this time. I don't want to go too much in the middle. And remember, we're pouring resin into this at the end of this whole thing. Another good reason why I'm doing this now. I'm going to go a little bit more out there. So I want to make sure this is as dry as possible when we pour resin. And I really do hope the resin pour goes well, because I'll be honest with you, I've done a number of resin pours. I'm telling you guys the truth here. The last time I did a resin pour, it ended up in my bathtub. I had like pizza boxes that I was taking out to the trash. I ended up going back outside to grab them. And I had them sitting on top of pizza boxes in my bathtub because the resin was leaking everywhere. 3D printed stuff, this is not necessarily watertight. It's, you know, millions of lines running across each other on top of each other. They don't necessarily seal together. I do have, I don't know if I have it up here, but I have if you've seen my mug that I have, it always has a pop can inside of it. The pop can is sealed. The mug is not. I will not pour liquid in that. It's not made for that. All right. All right, I think that's good enough. And again, what we're doing right now, I'm kind of laying some colors on a little bit heavy. This is going to mix in and blend a little bit. Not doing dry brushing or anything like that yet. I'm going to try and be more sparing on this. And the nice thing is, if I miss a little bit and get some of those rocks or edges, I don't have to worry about, because I'm going to be painting those here shortly. By the way, if you're wondering, like, how do you keep on, are you washing your brush off? As I mentioned before, I get these at Walmart. They're like just rags. They come in packs of 10 for like $3. I put it on my leg and just wipe off my brush throughout. Paper towels, I started doing that, and then I ripped through a couple paper towels and wiped off. I only have like 4 good pairs of jeans that I enjoy, and I don't have holes in my jeans. I don't understand why people have holes in their jeans. But I mean, I've got a number of pairs of jeans I just didn't know because I just kept on, and I ended up wiping tons of paint all over my leg. So these don't rip. You can generally use them forever. The only problem is once they get loaded with paint, they turn into like concrete, and they'll actually hold their shape. Which you can still technically use it, but I only use those when I'm doing like big terrain, like doing my tiles, that kind of stuff, when I'm doing hundreds of tiles in a go. So now I'm just adding a little bit of green. I like green water. I don't know if it's actually accurate, and I'm trying to be very, very light with this one. And I'm trying to follow a current. I'm not going side to side. Side to side. I'm following with a current, like it's a swirling motion going around. And for the dark green, this is where I will hit the middle a little bit more. That's where I'm trying to, the middle and the edges, not so much the edges, but the middle. Okay. Sorry. It's starting to look like a thing, right? Since this is the Feywild, this would be like magic water, that kind of stuff. You guys have, what was that book they made us read in school? Well, not made us read. I was an English teacher. I made kids read. It's in grade school, though. I didn't teach grade school. Forever Tuck, it was called. There was like a spring that whoever drank from it lived eternal no matter what. Like you'd shoot them in the face and they'd still live and all that stuff. I only say that because I'm not saying don't shoot people in the face. It's bad. But in the book, there was something about somebody murdering somebody, and they were worried about that person getting hanged because then they'd just still be there. They wouldn't die. Tuck Forever, remember? Tuck Everlasting, I think is what it was called. If you're in the comments, let me know if I'm wrong. I'm painting. My hands are full. I'm just spitballing here. All right, so I'm throwing out white to give it like a... This I'm going to stay as much to the edge as possible. I'm mixing in with some of the paint. Very light strokes on the edges. And again, we're just doing a base layer or a ground layer that resin is going to be poured in on top of. If I really wanted to do something that I was trying to do as a showstopper to somebody I was going to enter in a contest, I would pour multiple layers of resin, and I wouldn't even add the white to this. I would do the deep water as the bottom effect, pour a darker tinted resin, and then I would pour another pour of, another couple millimeters on top of it, and tint that a lighter color. So you're seeing, it gives it more depth. For this, I don't really need to do that. I'm hitting a little bit of the middle just to lighten some of that dark water up. All right, you know what? I am pretty satisfied with that. So that's our water. Now let's move on to some dirt. Brush size, by the way, is maybe a 1/4 inch. Square nose brush. Nothing too special. I get them in packs from Michael's or something like that for like $9. There's like 10 brushes. Not something ever overly fashionable or like that. I do make sure the brushes I get are specifically made for acrylic. But other than that, I'm not a brand guy, or I don't even know who makes these. I don't think there's even a thing on them. These brushes kind of actually crack me up because when I'm wiping them off, I don't know. Yep, it's just a piece of plastic, and this just crimps on, and that happens all the time. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. I've never had one come off while I'm painting, but yeah. So, not giving advertisements or something like that. None of this stuff's sponsored. All right, so now we're going to a dark, this is real brown. And I'm just going to, again, doing the layers. I'm going to get real messy on this one. I'll be covering up stuff that I don't want to. But, again, speed painting, as you go in with more layers, it hides your crimes. It hides your mistakes. You'll see stuff that you missed, and you're going to go, oh, well, because here's the thing. A lot of this stuff, this model, it's hard to see the detail. I mean, there's detail there, but when you start adding color, that's where stuff really starts to pop. I mean, other than the water that I just did, when you're painting a model, it's different than you're painting, if I was painting a portrait. A portrait, I'm the one who's putting all the depth and the shapes and that's why, I mean, I do these tutorial videos because, one, people ask me to do them. But two, because everything I've learned from painting, it's not something that I have a talent for. And I don't mean that I'm not good at it. I think I'm all right. I take pride in what I do. But what I mean by that is I could teach anybody to paint like I do. Anybody. If you watch me for a bit, I guarantee you could do what I do. Now, are you going to be as fast and whatever and confident? No. I mean, I can show you my first model. It was an Etten, one of the two-headed, giant troll-like monsters for Dungeons and Dragons. And it took me probably 3 hours to paint him. And his one eye is looking that way and one eye is looking that way. It's I still have him. Maybe I'll show him in a chat sometime of where I've been and where I've gone to. I still don't do eyes. I don't like eyes. What I do now is I just get a very fine tip brush, and if it's like a bad guy or like lizard I give it a bing of yellow or red or stuff like that, and then miniatures like figures like NPCs, that kind of stuff, I don't do their eyes at all. And I'm sure there's videos on how to do it and how to make it simple, and I've done so many miniatures in my collection now that way that I don't want to go through and I've got one way and it's all right. Again, I've said this a number of times in the channel. I paint for tabletop quality. I'm not entering this into a contest. There's guys with airbrushes that, are just unbelievable. Like, I've watched videos of them. I've thought about getting an airbrush, but I could set up a booth in the studio, but I don't know if it's worth it. What I'm able to do with a brush is fine enough than an airbrush. I'm sure it's faster for an airbrush, but so I'm drawing this right now is trying to get I'm trying to keep in shot, but like this guy, when I'm shooting at this angle, let's see if you guys can see that. I'm trying to get under these branches and get the shoreline of where, like, this is obviously a rock. You can't see it. This is a rock. But right below it, there's a shore. Like there, I can see the dirt. So I'm trying to hit all that with the dark brown. And again, this is not the detail part of it. This is just getting the first color on. We will go in, and when we do our shading and that kind of stuff, that's what adds the detail. That's what makes things pop. All right. So I think the browns are good enough for that one, for a solid brown. Now let's do the next big thing. Let's do the rocks on the edge. And, well, we'll add the rocks to the middle as well. So for the rocks, I normally always do like a two. I mean, I'll show you guys what I always do for my rock combo, and it's just, I'm not saying it's lame or anything like that, but I don't know where the other one went, but I use a dark gray and then the other one just gray. I don't know where that other bottle went. It's the same size as this, and it just says gray. But what I want to do for this one is we're going to go something different. I think we're going to do an ash. And then, let's see here. So it's always good to look at your colors. If you used it a bit, you'll have a little, what it looks dried. Because that's the thing. Paint also dries in a usually a darker shade. So there we go. We got two contrasting colors. But my concern is, if I'm going to do those and I've got all that stone there, how will that look in comparison to my barn? So here's my barn wood color. That's how I always open up my paint bottles. Just get a quick flick with an X-Acto knife. Alright, so that's a different tinge of gray. I know it probably doesn't look like it, but we'll do something else to make the wood contrast, but we're going to still use this. I think I have a plan for... Yeah, we'll do these two for the wood. And I'll show you... I know brown and gray, you're wondering, well, what the... You've lost your mind. Trust me, it'll work. It's something I've tested before. If you're ever wondering... trying to do test colors, that kind of stuff, go get like some paint sticks. Or actually don't go get paint sticks because those are expensive. Go to, if you buy them as many as you would want to use for this, go to like a craft store, and they have like in the woodworking section, they'll usually have like a huge bag of like tongue depressors or popsicle sticks, that kind of stuff. Take those sticks, and that's how you can practice some shading. Does this color work well on this color? Now, I've done this so many times that I can generally tell I like this combo, that kind of thing. But if you're just starting out, that's a good way. I did do the tongue depressor stuff for a long time. And when we do the resin, I'll probably have to go get those because I'll need to mix the resin. So let's get into the stone. I'll mix these two. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm not doing detail, I'm not shading, I am just painting the rocks gray. That is it. I'm technically painting the rocks ash. Again, as I did the dirt before, I was just painting it a general color. That's the undercoat. When you go in and you do shading and stuff later, the undercoat, although you're gonna see it, that's not your focus color. I'm getting a little bit on the vines, but it's okay. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at angles too. If you notice I keep on moving stuff around, you'll miss stuff if you're not looking at all the angles. And the light, trust me, light helps. I recommend to anybody who wants to get into painting, models, anything, model working in general, have a work light that you can move around, articulate. I would be moving my light right now, but I also have a camera right above my head, so I don't want to glare that light or that camera. Now, if you can see the spots that I'm not painting that are still black, I know it's not really definitive yet, but those are bushes. Similar to the bushes we did a couple streams ago that were all around the fallen statue. Printable Scenery's got a great way of doing their bushes that they're pretty detailed. I mean, I use the same, like, I use 6 screens to paint them, and I just randomize which what green I'm using. So I mean, because in nature you're not going to have all the same bush color, but they do a great job with a detailed I mean, it's going to sound weird, but they're making a bush out of plastic, foliage and that kind of stuff. It moves it, and however they designed it, it looks really good. It paints really well. I mean, it must have taken a lot of practice to design that in a computer and make it print right. Because, I mean, the only thing I recommend if you do these models, I have found in the past that the bushes can be stringy. If you're a 3D printer, you know what I'm talking about. The resin will it'll like string across in a very fine line, almost like a spider's web. And when you're painting it, you'll actually see that filament, and you can go in with like clippers and easily get rid of it. On a large scale, if your whole model's got a ton of stringiness, if you get a heat gun, you just give it a quick pass over with a heat gun. They'll instantly disappear. The only danger of a heat gun, and I swear by this because I did this to a model that I'd done a lot of work on, and I was like thinking in my brain, well, I can dry my paint a whole lot faster if I just hit it with a heat gun, and so I can move on to the next layer and stuff. So I was doing a bunch of clear coats on something. I think it was a mountain. I was doing, mountain tiles. I have a bunch of mountains that go around. And I love Tested, Adam Savage. I watch his show. I watch him all the time. And every time he does a painting tutorial, you see him with a hair dryer. In my stupid brain, I'm like, hair dryer, heat gun. I have still that same hair length as I did in the military. Like, my hair is short. I've never used a hair dryer a day in my life. I don't know how hot it gets or how comparable it is to a heat gun. When I was in the military, the reason why I have a heat gun is simply because in the military, a cheating way of shining your boots was using a heat gun. And so I bought a heat gun because when I was in the military academy, it was like, oh my God, I got to shine these things every day. It lets me, if I can do it faster, I can move on to something else and enjoy my life a little bit more. So, anyways, so I used the heat gun to try and dry my paint, and didn't notice it because it was in a box. It wasn't lit. It was, I did it. I was spray painting in I kind of have like a little spray booth that I put in the basement, but it's not really well lit. It's I wear a mask while I do it. It's because it's not really well ventilated. It's like a quick get in there, get out, that kind of thing. And when I went to pull the model out, it was bent. It was leaning tower of plastic. It was so bad. Like all these tiles are warped, and it was like a week worth of printing. I mean, I had done a ton of tiles for this set, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like it won't work anymore. Like I don't. I mean, I had used like a whole. I mean, it was a $20-$30 mistake. And what I ended up doing is printing a couple more of those mountain tiles and using paper, like the thick paper clip thing, not paper clips like the, when you're typing on Word and that paper clip judges you for your grammar mistakes. Not that paper clip, though. One of those like clip paper clips that, like a alligator clip kind of thing. I used that and I would heat up the one that was warped and then try and slowly flex it back to be straight. And I mean, they're still pretty. I mean, they're warped. I can see it, but they're at least they're at least functionable now. But yeah, I learned that mistake, and like I said, that was a $20-$30 mistake. That, I mean, I didn't throw them out, but it's something that you learn lessons. I am not first time good at everything I do. I make so many dumb mistakes. When you're painting stuff, it's not, again, anyone can do this. You give me, a couple days time, practice with somebody, I could get anybody to paint terrain at a highly detailed level. And it's not because I'm good. It's not because I'm a good teacher. It's not, it's simply technique. If you ever watched, Bob Ross, the joy of painting, I used to watch him all the time as a kid. Like, it was wonderful. I need to go to sleep, Bob Ross. Boom. I mean, that man will make you dream of wonderful things. Meadows and lilies, and I'm sure there's a unicorn somewhere in the back of those mountains that he paints. I think we're doing. We're doing all right with the stone there. That's a good layer, and we can go back to our brown to do our next level. So I'm jumping back and forth, not wasting time. So while I'm doing the stone, the brown gets to dry a little bit. While I'm doing the brown, the stone gets to dry a bit. Remember I told you about looking at different angles? As soon as I set that down, I cleaned off my brush, saw one of these stones totally bare. Got to listen to my own advice, Look at all the angles. I'm going to do that right now. So I'm just giving it a quick look over. Since the whole model's black and the PLA, I do print in PLA, by the way. Since that is, it prints almost kind of shiny. It literally is a telltale from a mile away. I can see if I miss a spot. All right, so we're good there. All right. So we're going to do a little bit more of our brown. I think I want to do a lighter brown, and I think, again, I'm using as a contrast the brown that I've got there. Let me see if I can show you guys. So I've got that brown. Here's the other brown I'm looking at using. And I'm thinking for the dirt, we're going to do 3 layers. 3-layer burrito. I don't need that all that much because this can be like kind of a dry brushing. Not so much technically dry, but a light. I want to get most of the paint off the brush. Sorry, what was I talking? Oh, Bob Ross. So what Bob Ross did for the joy of painting is teaching people the technique of how he did his paintings. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that Bob Ross isn't talented and anybody can. The thing is that you were mimicking his style to replicate what he created. the scenery that he created. He would paint that scene, and if you followed along with his technique, you could almost replicate exactly that painting. Where the talent, in my opinion, comes in is creating that scene completely out of your mind. Like, I mean, I'm sure Bob Ross didn't go, hold on, producer, I got to go find another, area to look at and then replicate it or paint it. I think he, in his mind's eye or whatever, saw it in his head and goes, I'm going to put this on, on a canvas. But using his technique, you could create that. You could replicate that. And if you know his technique well enough, then you can start creating, your own vision for that. That's why I say I'm a technique painter. I don't want to say I'm talented at it. It's because I feel like talent is one of those things that how do I put it? It's almost like it's a I don't want to say it's a gift, because there's people that have been so dedicated that they became talented, even though they're it wasn't like they were just good at it to begin with. All right, so just gone around, did another light hit for our browns. I think if I go outward to inward like we did before with the stone, we'll be just fine. You guys notice I'm using the same brush for all this. You don't need to have 50,000 brushes. Now I have a ton of brushes. I really do. I have I've got this cool little guy that one of my friends gave me because they know how nuts I am they gave me that as a birthday gift. I've got another with finer tip brushes, and then I have a giant coffee mug of old brushes. I don't tend to throw anything out. I am a hoarder. I have a disease. No, I mean, you can, if you're like, well, some of those brushes look like they've, fun fact, dry brushes, when you're doing dry brushing, I mean, sometimes the ones that still are caked in paint, are ideal. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that is, is not going to be so much give. Come on, get out of there. That was way too much coming out of there. I don't like that bottle. It's got a huge mouth to it. Now, if you probably didn't see it, but I'm wiping my brush off of my. If you see my brush disappear, I forget to narrate that because it's something that I just do without thinking. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to hit the geometry, like the edges of the stone. By the way, for the viewers out there, if you guys have got ideas or things, stuff you want me to talk about, technique of, hey, well, how are you doing that, or what, let me know in the comments. Hey, I'm looking at doing this, or I'm looking at doing 3D printing. How do I get in the, whatever. The stream is your guys' stream. You're taking the time to watch me. I'd be doing this anyways without you guys. I got to paint this stuff anyways. So if you guys have questions, comments, concerns, let me know. Alrighty. I think the outer circle's looking pretty good. There is some detail. If you can see the little rock chips and stuff. I'll show you how I take care of that in a second. That's where we start doing more detail. I still have one more layer, I think, for the dirt that I want to go through, which is why I haven't gone to that yet. Again, sometimes after you paint on a layer on top, you can't go back to it. You can't. If I were to do a stone or something like that on those smaller ones, I can't then dry brush on top of the, or I can, but it would be more difficult to do so without losing detail rather than adding detail. And again, that knowledge comes with experience, practice, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. I'm sure if you watch another person, they might say, well, I do it this way. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. Everybody has their, I was actually checking out some videos of before, while I was planning the resin pour, because I've never done a resin pour live. It's normally just me trying to figure it out as an idiot, going, I think that'll work, and then I find out that did not work, and now I'm running to my bathroom screaming. But checking out other people's videos of what they've done, how they, somebody had recommended using a scale to measure the resin. I eyeballed it the last time, and I did not mix enough. And so I did a resin pour. It's like over a year or two ago, and the resin did not harden. It was sticky forever. I did develop a way to fix that. That did work, but it was sticky for like a year. Just never hardened. And so what I did whenever I just told players, do not put, your character on the lake or anything like that. It was like this big terrain piece that had, and I watched a ton of videos. People are like, pour more resin in. I'm like, that won't work. I filled it up to, the edge of the lake bed or whatever. So what I ended up doing is just experimenting. There wasn't a video I could find. But I got a can of polyurethane and just kept on putting layer upon layer on top of it, and eventually it was fine. I can, rat-tat-tat on top of the resin, because most of the resin had hardened. It was just tacky in some areas. All right, so we've got the stone. Let's do our last brown color, and you guys know the color. I swear by it. Territorial beige. It's a wonderful color. We're running out of paint spots here. We're about an hour in here, so I want to make sure we have enough time to get through the whole resin process, because I'm sure that'll be fun for some folks to see. So again, what I'm doing here, I'm lightly going through with the territorial beige. This is just going to lighten up that dirt. And then we'll go in and get those little stones. Again, checking my angles. Trying to make sure everything's even. I'm gonna spot there. All right. I can't say I'm satisfied with that. Again, we're just adding more and more detail. So let's go. into our statue. So that's what everybody wants to do, right? I just realized I need to do the waterfall too. But I want to do the statue first. That's okay. So this brown I'm picking, I know it looks kind of like the nutmeg color. It's a higher orange kind of color I've found when putting it on. And again, there's a reason for my method to my madness. Try and that was a little bit too much. I'm gonna have to clean something up. That's all right. Part of that the waterfall is gonna cover, so kind of glad I didn't do the waterfall. Again, hiding my crimes. I think it's the term Adam Savage uses for it. Alright, when you get to this detail part, this is where you do want to just take your time. There's no rush. If you're rushing, that's where you'll make mistakes. That's where you'll have to redo stuff. But if you've kind of been following along with how I do things, it's just in a light touch-up versus, well, now I got to paint the whole daggone thing black again and start over. Will tell you it's a bit of a challenge doing this live because I do not like where my light is right now, but I also, if I put it in a place that I will be happy with it, you guys won't see. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, you said you're going to do that barnyard color. I am still. Again, there's a method to this madness. If you've ever looked at really worn out barnyard wood, there's still like a orangish brownish color to it just underneath. So what I'm going to do is just do a heavy-ish dry brushing on top of this. Trying to get into that spot behind the waterfall. So I'm very happy I didn't do the waterfall because I would definitely be redoing it. And you probably can't tell, but I am trying to follow the lines of the model up and down versus side to side. That way I have the best coverage. Also, it will kind of take away the print lines. If you know what I'm talking about with FDM printers, they print horizontally on top of each other and build up layers. It's almost unavoidable to, and there's ways to hide those lines. You can use, what I often use is a filler spray paint used for like automotive work, or Bondo if you're doing something really, really big. But like, I mean, if I were to do like a Mandalorian helmet or something like that, it's going to print in multiple pieces and I'm going to have to put it all together. I would super glue that together. I'd have the seam lines and then I would put Bondo over those lines and then sand them smooth. And that's how it looks like, a perfect one piece. If you've ever seen like cosplayers and you're just like, well, how did you get like that to look or how to be one piece? That's how, that's the same thing with doing cars. You can hide seams and stuff with Bondo. Now, generally with cars, you're shaping out the body with Bondo, not hiding seams. But in model working, it is perfect for hiding seams. Oh, these branches, it is so hard to make sure you're getting every spot. We've still got the ones on the outer edge, too. Make sure I get his hands pretty well done because we go back into the water. I want to make sure that the water is distinguishable from his hands. Alright. Now I do want to get probably a better brush, more detailed brush to do these branches because they're going to be a pain in the butt. So to give you guys a look so far, this is where we're at. And mind you, more color is going to be coming, so it's not so dull and squalid. Again, it's adding each color is what adds the whole. Adds the detail. Now, it's at this point that I've switched brushes, so you can see how much you can do on one brush. And I've only switched this brush because I have better control in the small recesses rather than, so this is like a rounded, again, I'm not using like some micro brush or something like that, but these branches are pretty thick. So I've got to get around, not only just the tops of them, but also underneath. I've got to get under the edges. So that's where that brush is kind of ideal. Again, since this is a detailed thing, I'm painting over these bushes, and so technically I'm going something over top. The only reason why I'm disobeying that one kind of rule that I told you is because when I go to do the bushes, if I missed and I hit the bush instead, well, it's easier now for me to hit the bush than the branch and cover it up. So that is one of the, again, once you are confident in what you're doing, You can tell me I'm an idiot and just do whatever you want to do, but it's I find this is just a quicker way. Could have done all the bushes first, but how the bushes are and how much separation is between them, painting them, and after doing the vines, I think will be faster. This is just, again, I think it will be. I don't know. I've never painted this thing before. Probably will not paint it thereafter. Rarely a miniature building, unless you're doing tiles, will you continue to paint something over and over and over again and be like, yeah, that's the way I did it last time. It's a new adventure each time. Getting a bunch of chirps on my phone. Let me see what's going on. Because I waited to do the bushes after these branches, I am not purposefully, but I am being less careful. Because I know I'm going to hit the bushes in a bit. So, if a little bit of brown shows through in the bushes, these vines are not going to stay this color. I'm going to dry brush over top of them with our barnyard color. So, our barn wood. So it won't look out of place on the bushes if there's a little bit of a orangish brown to it. I mean, if you've ever seen, foliage, you're going to have, part of a plant every now and then a couple leaves die. So I'll have that color to it. Tells a narrative. You didn't probably mean to tell that narrative, but use it to your advantage. It's a little bit more detail, and if somebody points it out, like, oh, I see what you're trying to do there. And you're just like, yeah, that's totally what I was going for. Haha. Totally wasn't, but who cares? This is part of the modeling and painting that is what I just like to call tedious. It's not saying it's not fun to do, but I don't know. It takes a lot of time. I like to get, see how fast I can get something done, get on to the next thing. I like to feel very accomplished, at the end of the day. Again, moving the model back and forth, making sure I'm getting both sides, getting all that detail in there. It doesn't look right if, somebody, if you got a player on the left side of the table and a player on the right side, they're going to have different perspectives. And if you only somehow painted the left side, you missed a ton of spots on the right, that player's going to see it. Now, if that player points it out and gives you a bunch of crap about it, just send in a Turask. Just be like, oh, yes, a wild Tiamat has shown up. Roll initiative. I wouldn't do that. Maybe. The only downside in the pursuit of details, I know I'm going to have to do these stupid finds again. But dry brushing is far faster, and with it being a gray, if it hits the rocks a little bit, don't really care. Ugh. Painting vines and painting the woodworking in between of the Dutch contemporary houses, where it's in between the plaster. That is the stuff in terrain making that I'm not gonna lie, not the biggest fan of. I mean, I've painted tons of it, but since I'm on the topic of that, it's really funny. Fat Dragon Games actually made a template for their most recent Kickstarter, which I do not recall what the Kickstarter is. I apologize. I am a member of it, but I haven't printed any of that terrain yet. But they actually made a template that just overlays it. So you paint all the stucco, and then you just drop that on top of it, and you could spray paint it if you wanted to, like a brown, I think, or vice versa, and it'll do the detail work for you. So it makes it a whole lot less painless. All right, I think I missed a spot. It's getting all excited. It's gonna be like, yeah, we're done. All right. I think we are at the point for our next color. But while we're here and we have the paint in the tray still, let's go back in and hit those stones, because the stones in the dirt, what I'm talking about here, like that kind of stuff. So I'm just going in very lightly, tipping off my brush with some paint. Getting a couple dabs here of the gray. Now again, I'm not pushing in. I'm just a light brushing off, like just hitting it with the very, very tip of the brush. Again, it's not talent, it's technique. It comes with practice. And it'll make it seem like, oh well, you painted all of that to, didn't really, it's, the stones are pronounced. So if you give it a light swish, it's going to get, your brush is going to get those stones. I don't think I'm going to hit those with a lighter color though. It's just, now they're like different pieces, different rubble. There's a spot I missed on the statue. Just be careful there. Wish I had noticed that before, since we're about to hit him again. But we'll just stay out of the way from the base for a while of it. Alright, I'm going to try and use a bigger brush so we can move a little bit quicker. So I'm going to probably a 1/2 inch, maybe. Always want to give your paints a good shake before you pour them. So like I said, acrylics, they're all different. You could have the same brand and, like I said, yellow and something else. And the yellow will come out if you try to pour it without shaking it. It just didn't mix properly. Like, it's separated in the bottle. And you could have another color that's always good all the way without shaking it or like that. Just give it a good shake. Alright, for this barnyard color, I want the brush to have the color on it, but I don't want it to be like thick, because again, I want some of this brown to show through. There's a couple spots there that the brown is still very much wet, so it's not really working too well, but you can see the spots that are wet pretty easily. Doing here is just hitting the highs. Since a little bit of it's wet, it's still showing through, like some of the brown's still mixing. That's fine. It's I think it's actually working kind of well to the advantage here. A few spots I'll probably hit up, but now you'd think that these branches are like very, oh, you got to be careful. They're gonna, snap up. They're actually pretty resilient when you're brushing. I mean, don't smack them, but they'll take paint. Not gonna lie, I really like this effect. Only problem is that there's a lot of stuff that's still pretty wet. So it's making a few things difficult. Alright, I'm going to try something here. Using my big brush, I'm just going to try and give a light to the vines. And, I mean, honestly, it's working. And again, I think doing the bushes how I did it, leaving them till last, that was the right call. It's allowing me to do this and not have to worry about going in and touching up the bushes again. I don't have to take all that time to be careful. The stone is already a gray, so the barnyard just kind of doesn't really do anything with them. Sorry, I keep on saying barnyard. It's like barnwood. Can't not be. Oops, sorry. So again, there you go. The brown mostly covered up. It's got this now old wizened wood, kind of eerie white, Gandalf the Grey, white kind of transition. So kind of what I was going for. Kind of. Nah, I'm kidding. That's exactly what I wanted. All right. Let's get the waterfall here done. Because we're at an hour and 30 minutes now, and I don't want to have this be an all-day occurrence. Although it has been fun. Going back into our blues here. I'm going to put dribble it onto his hands. Trying to avoid his fingers as much as possible. Now this is my darker blue color, which I know it says like depth. I'm using this as, again, the primary color. Again, trying to get it from all angles. Not going to so much paint the backside of the water. I don't really think it's possible to really even see back there from any angle. But I do want to get the edges. Now I'm not even really giving the paint time to dry here. We're letting it mix. And I really want, if you can see the fingers, I want the fingers to still have that wood look. So I'm trying to be very careful because I want the water to have the effect of it's dripping through his fingers. Now we're hitting it with a really light blue. And I'm hitting this extremely light with the brush. A little bit of my green. Give it that aqua color. Agua. Alright, this is where we get into the daring. We're going to hit it with white, and white is not one of those forgiving colors. So I really did try and clean my brush pretty well there. Now remember, these layers of white, or I'm sorry, the layers of blue, I put those on quick. So when I put the white on, I'm trying to be very, 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 very careful. Because what I want to happen is the colors to mix a little bit as I'm lying on this white. I'm just slowly moving the water up. Oh. Brush down. I want to hit the edges with that white too because they're still dark blue. Wonderful. Now the hands. Having some trouble with making sure. You know what? I can't not be happy with that. Water in his hands trickling through. All the all the fingers are still there. Still got their color. Can't complain about that. Right? Alright, so let's do the quick and easy bush. And then they'll give us probably like 20 or 30 minutes to do the resin pour. And I do need like about 5 minutes to get switched over for resin, but that should be quick and painless. Let's get the bushes going. I'm going to use another tray here. Let's get rid of this one. Again, there's an exception to all my rules. Normally I don't pour out. I do one color at a time. With bushes, I don't do that. Bushes, as you can tell, I use this tray all the time for bushes. It's all green. And I'm just going to quickly run to the end on him. Don't need too much color here. Alright, let's get some of this stuff cleaned up, out of the way. Don't need all this paint anymore. Don't need it in the organized anymore. So we're on the last detail work. Alright. So the brush I've been using pretty much the entire time, as you guys have been paying attention, I've used 3 brushes for this whole thing. So I'm just going to dive in, no logic or plan here. I'm just going to hit one bush at a time. Not trying to dry brush or like that, just get enough so it's not goopy. Covering the whole daggone thing. And since I'm in that color, let's hit another. And so I try to do for the bushes complete separation. So I'll do a few around, then I'll pick another color. And how Printable Scenery does these, you don't want to have your brush totally loaded with paint, but it's kind of like a sticking in and then brushing through. It's kind of, you don't want to have a brush that's had a lot of dried paint into it. You want to almost have, it needs to be like cleaned up quite a bit, or a new brush. But if you put too much paint on your brush, you'll get like a dried glob, and it will kind of throw off the whole bush effect. But if you do put too much into a bush, all you got to do is just get another color, or I'm sorry, not get another color. Just start moving the paint around. Let's put him. I didn't count our bushes or anything like that. I just got 6 colors of green, 6 shades of green. Try and do like 4 or 5 bushes of each color and then see where we're at. Let's get a high contrast going. You see what I was talking about with the vine? I'm dabbing in, just a quick dab motions. So it negates the whole thing about, you know, the painting the vine is a slow brush motion. With this, I can be a lot more targeted and avoid. So doing the bushes, in my opinion, after I've done the vines was a smart move. My opinion. If you think I'm stupid and that's a dumb idea, let me know. Every time I'm doing these bushes, all I can think about is Monty Python. All nights you say knee. Go get me a shrubbery. It's a very nice shrubbery. You can tell I'm going absolutely completely random. Got a little overzealous there with that color, but got a little bit on my brown, but that's okay. Let's do this big bad boy right here. One thing you want to do when you're doing these bushes, though, is to keep track of what color you're using on what bush. I actually had a moment there where I was just like, wait, which? Because I've been skipping around. I want to finish that end, so let's use, I know this color is going to contrast a lot with him. Should get a few colors in. It's fun to start putting a real contrasting, a lighter green or a, you know, more yellowish green next to a darker or something like that. Just watch the colors pop. It's more exciting than watching the Super Bowl. I'm kidding. We got the vine bad on that one. They got the vine old there, Pappy. Gonna have to put them on down. Alright, let's go fix that. Cool thing with the paint tray technique is you can just go back and fix your mistake. Quick dab of color. There you go. There's my chestnut on top. And there's actually another spot that I did not notice in that bush, and I'm going to give him a little hit. Give that time to dry and see if we even need to hit it again. I probably won't even notice it. You know what? There's a little bit of greenery on the actual, a few spots. I want to hit him too. Let's just make that a big old bush. A big old bush. I'm going to name it George Herbert Walker Bush. Right there. I'm from Texas. That's a W, I know. But I'm naming this one George Herbert Walker Bush. Alright, now I'm just trying to find spots I haven't hit yet with colors I haven't hit, or I might have duplicated, but it's not really a duplication. Now it's about just finishing the piece. Making sure we got all the bushes hit. Make sure we're not missing one. Alrighty, I think we've only got, there's a bush there and a couple here, and we'll be set. Alrighty, guys. I think we might be able to call this Foldy Paint It. Alright, so let's give you a... I keep on doing that, sorry. But as I said, I want to do a resin pour, so we're going to do that next. We got 10 minutes left in the stream, roughly. If we gotta go a little bit longer, I will, but I don't want to. So I want to play Call of Duty. All right, so what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna get set up for resin. It should only be, resin's pretty quick. It's just preparing it. So let me get a couple minutes together, guys, and I'm just gonna put it in a pause here while I move some cameras around and get some stuff like that done. So bear with me. We're gonna get started here shortly. All right, guys. Sorry about the long hold there, but you know, safety first, and had to get the right materials. And I forgot the stir sticks. Give me 1 second. They're sitting on the table. These are those stir sticks I was talking about. You can get them at any craft store. Wood crafting sticks. They're essentially like a corn dog stick. I use them as stir sticks. I use them for crafting, all that kind of stuff. All right, so I want to talk about resin for a second. This is Art and Glow resin. 40-minute work time, so it does take a while to cure. Some you got to look at what kind of resin epoxy you're looking at. Some is quick, some is not. Some is 10 minutes, some is 5 minutes. Some, you know, so you need to know. You need to know what you're working with. And this stuff's pretty particular. So, got a scale here. Let me get him started. Come on. So, safety first with the resin. Resin is not exactly good for your health. So I don't remember with this one if it was, I mean, it says low odor and stuff like that. I like myself, and I'm not going to take the risk. So I'm going to be working with full gloves and a respirator. Gloves, you guys know about gloves, COVID. A respirator, this is a respirator you can get. I got this at Harbor Freight a while back. I use them when I worked on my motorcycle, painting, all that kind of stuff, spray paint, that kind of stuff. Gives off really dangerous fumes. So, but let's first, before I throw that on, I start sounding like Bane. I'm going to zero out my scale. So I'm putting the cup on there. I'm zeroing it out so it won't take into account my cup. Okay. And I know this is really dumb, but who knows? Maybe something got on the other cup. All right, they're both zeroed. And then this is going to be my mixing cup. So, let's get into it. Safety first. If I start doing Bane impressions, I'm sorry, but I am a child.
No one cared about me before I wore the mask. I will break you, Batman.
Anyways, I don't know if you guys can hear me that well, but you want to make sure when you're putting on a mask, a respirator I should say, make sure that it's all for naught if it's not sealed right. And this is one of those things that I'll get really particular about. I was in the armed forces. Used to have guys all the time who, I could put my gas mask on in 3 seconds. Great, but is it sealed? And oh yeah, it's totally fine. And I had this guy that I was in with, and we ended up going to the gas chamber. Puts on his gas. Oh, I'm so fast with that. Goes in the gas chamber. Mask wasn't sealed, or it was something, or the filter wasn't all the way on. Something. He didn't check his equipment, and ended up just like hacking himself half to death. It was. I don't want to say it was hilarious, but it was. Thing up my scale turned off. Price of safety, guys. Price of safety. Okay, so it's still zeroed. All right, so one of these is a hardener, and one of these is the resin itself. I can't remember. I think the black is the hardener. And given how big the river is, we're gonna have to use quite a bit of this. So I have another set. Let's do a little bit more than 3 ounces, like 3.2. And I can actually smell it through the respirator. stuff is not... It's not that it's super dangerous, but it's not something that... This might be totally... It says keep out of reach of children. May cause skin and eye irritation. I'm going to be safe. I've got eye protection. I've got a respirator. I can smell it. I could be overdoing it. If you guys work with 3D printers, the resin printers behind me, I don't wear a respirator all the time when I'm wearing it because I have an air filtration system built into it, but you need to be prepared. So I think this is actually the resin. So we're looking for 3.2. So I'm making 6 ounces of resin. And I'm doing the extra 0.2 because some will get stuck in the cup. Oh, that's a little bit more, but that will suffice. So when we put this together, it should be 6.5 or thereabouts. So now this cup's going to weigh different. So add 0.2 to it. So 7. Feel like I'm on Breaking Bad, if anybody's watching. What do you do for a living? I make meth. If any of my coworkers watch this, just, you already know about me. Just ignore me. Alright, so I'm trying to get as much as I can. It looks like we're going to lose about 0.1. And like I said, we took into account that. That's fine. I don't want to make a big old mess here, as I love this workspace. So this is where our start time kicks in. The resin's mixing. So we're at 6.1. I think I'll be happy at 6.5. This stuff's more goopy and thick, so we're gonna have to work this one in. I think what would have been probably a better idea, just for folks out there, if you guys go to do this next time, put the goopier one in the big cup. Trying to just get everything out of here. And again, we've got 40 minutes. This is the 40-minute work time, so I'm not in any real rush. I just want to make sure that this mixes as absolutely best as it can. Looks like our scale turned off. Wake up, Mr. Scale. 6.7. Wow. I'm not saying I'm good, but I mean, not bad. Some of my coworkers like to say I'm a math major, which is a real insulting joke from them, if you know me, because I have an English degree, and I'm an absolute idiot at math. They love to point it out, and so they call me a math major. So hurtful. So, something real big about resin, you need to mix this stuff up hardcore. And I'm going to do something that I haven't done before that I think will work. So, I told you I want to add a little bit of blue to it. I thought about adding paint, but I don't know how the viscosity of paint would work mixing. But I've got washes, and this is blue. Should work, right? It's like an ink. So we're going to try that.
If it doesn't work, I'm totally cool with it. I mean, it should at least turn in a little bit of a blue color. So I'm going to add a couple drops and see. Well, actually, let's shake this up first. I haven't never used a blue wash before, so for all I know, it's clear on the top and goopy on the bottom. Let's see how that does. I do not. Again, this is all, guys. When I do these streams, it's not something I've sat around and figured out. I am experimenting while I'm doing this. So that is actually doing a little bit of a color here. I'm just trying to beat the living hell out of this because like I said, I poured resin. I've done resin pour. This is probably my 4th or 5th time. And one time I did a resin pour and it was not mixed up well. And it did not work. It was sticky for a year. Now I know how I can fix it now, but I don't want to fix it. I want it to be perfect the first time. I'm going to add a little bit more color, but I'm really liking the tint that came on. But I want it to be, this is magical, right? Do you believe in magic? Alright. And for anybody who watches this on YouTube, no, I'm not actually cooking up meth. We're making epoxy for a model. It's going to be awesome. So awesome. I'm digging that. I'm digging that a lot. Look at that. Guys, look at that. Does that not just say magic water? I mean, now all the bubbles, that's what you use the heat gun for. So, here we go. What we're going to do, I want you guys to be able to see the pour. I do. I want you to be involved. So, give me a second. I'm going to move the cameras over so you guys can see. So you can watch it. How cool would that be? So I'm going to do this one right now. I know, like, oh my gosh, his room's such a mess. So we're going to put him right there. There we go. We got that. There we go. Sorry, that notebook was straight earlier. There we go. All right, and then the other camera, we're gonna be able to move. Can we move him? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make this camera big for you guys. So bear with me 1 second here. How exciting is that, right? All right, guys, we're going to do a pour. Now, I don't know if I made enough resin, but we're at least going to do the model that we started with, and then I will finish off the river if I have to later. So, here we go. So I want to be, you got to commit to it. working my way around. Now, if you notice that these pieces are sitting on corrugated cardboard, poster board, hobby board, whatever you want to call it, that I got from the dollar store. That is because 3D files, as I said before, are not watertight. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm trying to speak as loud as possible here.
But so what we're doing here is we're doing this pour. You want to be active. You want to, again, you got to commit to the pour. Now I got a little bit here. That's okay. If I have to, I can go in and add a little bit of color. Just want to make sure that I've got enough liquid all around. Now, I am concerned about the river. I masked it off. I don't know if that's going to suffice. We're about to find out. Find out together. So I love it. And I'm only looking to add just a little bit. I want the rocks to show through. I want now I'm just helping it move around. Get it in all the spots. All the critzy crevices. And if you're asking right now, like, well, JP, why didn't you, put them all together and then, because these are tiles, I can reset these up however I want. So, by taping them off individually, I don't ever have to, I can reset them up in different formations, they're not going to have to match up, so I can put them away in a box somewhere. Once they dry, of course. All right. We're rolling right along, but I'm for sure that we don't have enough resin. Might have overfilled him a little bit. We'll let him dissipate a bit. Now I don't want to shortchange anything here. I have these butted up to each other just because I want that extra support. I did as best as I could to make sure the masking was as tight as possible, but prepare for the worst, as they say. Hope for the best. So we're out of resin, it looks like, so I'm going to have to mix up some more. But we've got only, 4 or 5 more pieces? Let's just pour the rest into him, so we're not wasting anything. I'm trying to pour right in the middle. And I'm sorry if you guys can't hear me. I didn't have the idea to move the mic. But at least you can see what I'm doing here. All right, guys. So this is JP. We're short a little bit of resin. I'll make up some more. We'll mix it up, get it taken care of. But I don't. You guys were here for most of the resin pour, and I don't want to waste any more of your time. I'm trying to stick to the 2-hour schedule. So stick around if you want. I'll be doing a live stream here in a little bit of some Call of Duty after I've gone and sat in front of an air conditioner for a little bit. But I got to get this resin done first. But thanks again for hanging out with us. It's been a lot of fun. I think it's a great project. Maybe we'll take a look together at how these turned out. Definitely look at my Instagram, the Leprechaun, one word, _fantasy_workshop. You'll be able to see the stuff after it's dried. So it'll be dry tomorrow, hopefully. And we'll see how it turned out. Thanks again for sticking around with us. More projects to come. Again, just to reiterate, I'll probably be doing a live stream on Sunday instead of Monday of next week, because Monday is Memorial Day, and I'm going to a doubleheader for Cleveland Indians. So tune in. You'll probably see me at the game because I am right behind home plate. So, but I hope to see for you guys. Please like, follow, comment. You guys supporting the stream is, allowing me to do more. So I hope to hear from you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Be safe out there. Ask me questions, comments, concerns if you want to know more of how I did stuff, or, if you've got, ideas of other things I can do in the future. Okay. I'll see you guys.